She left.
Oh, she was here. Oh, something more important.
Oh,
There you
my
go.
goodness.
Gosh.
What could that be?
Sorry, I'm glad you're here, Glenn.
Glenn, could you take her place?
All right, let's get started then. We have minutes of the previous August 6, 2013 council meeting. Any errors or omissions? Oh, here we are. Councillor Caldwell, second by Councillor Turton, that the minutes of the August 6, 2013 council meeting be approved as presented. Concerns on them?
Just have a question, Mayor Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
With respect to the trees for farms project, that's going to be a staff issue, is it? Or are we supposed to be looking for members of the committee, or how's that left?
Mayor Bridge, through you, I think really the staff would be reminding you to look for members, so I think jointly we're all looking for members, so probably bring those names back this next month, and we would then get in touch with them if you haven't, and get some formal appointments.
Yeah, I've approached a couple people, and maybe if you have some names, or if you approach them, let us know, just so we don't duplicate, but, yeah.
Vote on that.
All in favor?
Okay, I'll pass it.
Right, that's fine.
Additional items?
I have.
Ron has one. Ron has one. Jerry? Dave? I think I have one. If one of you guys don't bring up mine, I'll do mine.
Yep. You can go
Bill
first.
has one?
Mayor Bridge, very briefly, we did have one additional item in closed session regarding a
Right.
land transaction in
Right.
downtown Harrison.
Yeah. Yep. There's no public meeting, or you're in the resolution. Moved by Councillor Faulkner, second by Councillor Elliott, the Town of Minto Council convenes the Committee of the Whole. All in favor? Carried. No public meeting, no delegations, public question period. Any? Correspondence received for information or required direction of council. We have invitation of meeting of unwilling host municipalities. At AMO, it's done, right? Any other, about correspondence? No?
Just motion to
Just need a motion to accept. Councillor Faulkner, Councillor Elliott, all in favor? Carried. Okay. Reports of committees and town staff matters tabled and motions of which notice has been previously given. Committee meetings for receipt, we have none. Committee minutes for approval, we have the cultural roundtable, and there is Mandy. Thank you, Mandy. July 29th, 2013.
Hello. So the
Oh, here's
highlight,
Pat. Hang
Hi,
on for a
Pat.
second, Mandy, we'll let Pat get settled in.
Sorry, I was somewhat detained by the infrastructure.
Well, yeah, you know what, it is
It's provincial.
provincial. I did mention to him, for the amount of asphalt they're putting in there, we could probably have done all our roads.
so the highlight from our cultural roundtable meeting on July 29th would be that we had our meeting at Mayor Bridges' house, and we had Whiteman Telecom there to film for their community channel. And as far as I know, that will be going on their channel shortly. Kimball Printing returned the final draft of the Treasures of Minto logo, and the committee did approve that. It is now on our website, and it will be placed on all of our future publications. We're pretty excited about it. You can see it there in your minutes with lots of color, and we really feel that it represents Minto as a whole quite well. Gordon Duff explained to the committee 2 cultural development grants to consider. The first was a cultural development fund, and the second was Igniting Rural Communities, also known as SPARK, and that's in place for music, theater, etc., and has a deadline of August 30th, and committee member Nicola McEwen is going to be submitting that on our behalf.
Yep.
Memory Tree has completed 95% of the filming for the creative industry videos, and 5 of them are complete in draft versions. We're just waiting to get the other one, and we'll be able to start putting those out in our marketing plan through consultant Linda Reeder. And our Ghosts of Minto Past storytelling event is going to be hosted at the Old Town Hall Theatre on September 27th from 7 to 9 p.m. And we have special guests, Wellington County paranormal investigators, coming to speak to that as well.
Oh, it's been
Ghostbusters.
confirmed?
Confirmed as of
confirmed
today.
Today, yes.
Yeah, so those are our special guests. We're really looking forward to that, and we invite everyone to come. And thank you, Pat, for telling Peggy about that lead.
Good.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mandy. Any questions for Mandy? If you have ghost stories,
Just,
by all means, we need them, so.
Just a comment that I was actually at that meeting. I had to leave early, but I
Oh.
was actually at that meeting.
Oh, do I not
yes,
have you
I'm
on there?
sorry, You're right.
I will add you to that.
Yes, you were. I didn't have to feed you, I don't think.
No, I didn't even have to.
All right. Thank you. Motion to accept? Deputy Mayor Fisk, Councillor Caldwell, all in favor? Carried. Thank you, Mandy. Staff reports. Matt's going to come up for this.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. The next report that you have in front of you stems from the PRAC minutes that came to council for approval back on July 16th. At PRAC's July 8th meeting, they had made a recommendation to amend the recognition of outstanding achievement policy. The intent at that time was to for council to consider allowing PRAC to take over recognizing our outstanding sports groups and individuals who had achieved a provincial, national, or international championship. I believe the minutes were approved subject to a report coming back to council about exactly what the changes were. So that's why we're here today. Between now and then, I've emailed everybody on the PRAC committee. They've had a little bit of a change in maybe what they would like to see happen. So what they would like to do now, or the option to have majority support, was to see council continue to recognize provincial, national, and international champions as per the existing policy, which would involve the mayor and the chair of PRAC. And then the second would see PRAC recognize teams and individuals who have achieved the highest level, but isn't provincial, national, or international. And so PRAC would either do that, or council could go to, say, for an example, their sports banquet, or we could look at maybe a sports recognition night, something like that, to just recognize the others who have achieved a high level of performance, but just didn't quite meet these parameters. We have 4 options here that council can consider today. The first would be to basically approve the original recommendation, which was for PRAC to take over the recognition. The second would be to revise the policy. The third would be to retain the current policy and then possibly add a piece, like I said, to recognize the other achievers who didn't quite meet these parameters. And the fourth would be for PRAC to conduct a consultation with local groups and review policies elsewhere. Not sure if there's any questions about that report.
Councillor Faulkner?
Sir, thank you. Don't look so nervous, Matt. I think it's important that council, the town of Minto, recognizes achievement. I'm glad that you changed part that we'd still, at the council level, recognize provincial, national, and I believe there was a third international level. So actually, I'd be in favor of number 3, but I also don't have a difficulty in at all in recognizing achievements by teams or individuals in a non-national or provincial way, because sometimes especially challenged individuals can achieve something that is just amazing in our eyes, and I'd want us to continue. I'm torn whether or not that all recognition should be done as a recommendation through council. I kind of think that it probably would mean more to the individual, not disrespecting PRAC in any way, but if there was a recognition, I think the recommendation should come to council, and that recognition be done through the town. I don't think it's going to mean that much extra time, space, or expense. Thank you.
I kind of like the, sort of the number 3 too, and I'm going to speak to it, and I think your next line down there, where there's merit, the town being represented, minor, sport, or cultural banquets, except for us to either go to the banquet upon request.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's no different than if somebody requests the mayor to come to a social event or whatever, and then at that point, we can bring recognition, but certainly, I mean, I like that. I like that opportunity, and I also would support the fact that if somebody came, that the PRAC chair would be with me for the provincial one, not because it makes sense, because the PRAC chair that's part of recreation. Same as I'd have the chair of Public Works or chair of Finance if there was something like that was involved. So I have no problem with those two. Does that make sense? So how do we do this, Bill? Because it's kind of not all done like exactly like that. We can't pick 1, 2, 3, or 4. We have to. Want to write it up different, or?
Well, if I may, Mayor Bridge, the first part of the recommendation is to receive the report, so we would include that. What I'm hearing is that you would retain the current policy of recognizing international, national, and provincial champions, so you would include that. And then what I'm hearing as an addition is that you would like the mayor or PRAC chair to bring congratulations to any sport or cultural group at their annual banquet or get-together upon request.
Yeah, because it'd be the same request. If I get a request in and I can't go, or then I ask deputy mayor to go, or ask another councillor to go represent us, right? Is that what you're talking about?
If I've heard correctly what you were saying.
But upon request.
Yes.
Yeah, the other, if I may, Mayor Bridge, is that I think PRAC should also have the leverage to be able to make a recommendation to council to recognize a team or individual within the Parks and Recreation for achievement that we could, don't have to be provincial, national, or international champions.
No.
To receive recognition from the town of Minto. And I think we want to make sure that the policy reflects the ability for PRAC to recommend that.
So, okay, that's changing it a little bit.
Yeah, it is.
Mayor Bridge, I think what we talked about at PRAC was, there's individuals on PRAC, there's 4 individuals from every part of Minto.
Right.
So if there's somebody out there that needs to be recognized, it's up to the individuals from PRAC to bring them forward, or if somebody else, like, we don't want to forget anybody.
No.
And, you know, we thought, just add to the policy, let PRAC administer it. And if there's somebody needs to be recognized, PRAC will recommend them.
Okay,
Is that?
okay, well, let me just throw this
No,
one
I'm
out.
against that.
If I get a request in and it
Shouldn't be.
it didn't go quite through PRAC, and I don't know, I couldn't give you an example, but say somebody did really well at a track meet or something, but it wasn't, and they came to me that they were having a function at their house or whatever, and would the mayor pop in and say hello? That would be a little bit outside of that policy. I just want to know, or should I just refer that person back to PRAC to see, is PRAC going to make the decision who has or not? I mean, I just want to know. That's what PRAC's recommendation was.
My feeling is that PRAC should recommend to council
Right.
on somebody or a team that should be recognized. And that's, we believe, what our current policy says.
But what I'm hearing then is you would add, in addition to recognizing, because we seek them out, provincial,
Yep.
national, international champions, and anyone recommended through PRAC.
Yes. I'd be in favor.
That's fine.
They could
That's
come-
what, is that what it was? Yeah, definitely.
Mayor Bridge, isn't that what number 2 basically says of
That's
the
what I thought it
4
was,
items?
Yeah, that's what it said.
That's what it says.
I think if I may, Mayor Bridge, what that contemplated, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, was that PrAC would do the recognition. What I suggested was the recommendation on who would be recognized by council would come through PrAC.
Yes.
So it would be individuals and teams. So if there was a exceptional team that competed at a lower level than national or international level that PrAC felt should be recognized by council, they would be recommended and that would happen.
And it doesn't have to be in black and white if all of a sudden a team came back and were a national champion, or won their division and then PrAC wasn't going to be till next month, and the opportunity for those people to come forward would just be a matter of contacting upon request.
Well, well, the way I guess this is why I'm confused. The way it was, if we retain the current policy, that means it's automatic. Like, if PrAC doesn't recommend if it's a provincial or international, it's an automatic thing. It doesn't go through PrAC then.
Yeah, but who do we go out and seek the provincial people?
I think
We
that-
had 2 provincial silver medalists, but we had, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I
I
think,
just think, and do our staff say, like this Matt say, gee, we had a provincial champion here, I'm going to seek them out, or do they, how did those hockey teams and ball teams, well, it was just hockey teams, how did those hockey teams come to our council chambers? I certainly didn't have any information. Do you have any information through PrAC
automatic.
that they were coming? Is all?
it's automatic, and they know
Like-
that they can do it. And Annaline, I think we set it up. And I understand that, Ron. I know that's not, I'm not trying to say that isn't right. And we dropped the ball on a couple because a couple people didn't bother asking us. And we didn't know they were there. So I would say for sure, PrAC's objective would be to make sure that we catch all
I
those
think
and let
that's
us know.
I think that's the key, right.
But it's an automatic. I mean, but anything other than those ones that are already in existing policies, if PrAC wants to recognize them, because that would be a recommendation from PrAC to council, and then we would say, that's fine. And I think that is PrAC's job.
I think we're all saying the same thing.
Okay,
It's
I
just
just
how-
don't, I don't think any one of these cover it.
Yeah.
Like 2 doesn't cover it, because I think it's confusing.
Number 2 covers
We-
it perfectly.
Yeah, it does.
If I may, we may be able to go with 3, and then, I know PrAC makes recommendations to council pretty much at every meeting. If we had a summer or winter team that achieved a high level but wasn't, like, didn't fall under the parameters of the current policy, we could just make a recommendation at that time that we include them in the recognition night on such and such a date. We may be able to avoid putting that in there and just let PrAC come up with those others that may not have
Yeah.
met these parameters.
See, I guess what I'm saying is maybe it's just wordsmithing, but the current policy basically says if you're an Ontario or international or Canadian champion, you're automatically, you don't have to talk to PrAC about it, it would automatically come here, right? And the only thing I'm saying is this one, I'm just not sure whether, so that, you're not saying in this one that excludes, that's just retain the current policy, add number 2.
Revise it. Revise it
Revise it
and
to add number
include.
2.
And include.
So everybody's going to be, all we're saying is everyone would be involved.
Yeah, revise and include, well, it doesn't
Yeah.
revise.
So PrAC has a feel of what's happening in recreation, we're saying, so all we're saying is we'll make a recommendation, and whether they're provincial champions or whether we feel that we'll just make it, it's a way of seeking them out.
Okay. As long as we know what we're voting on, I just want to make sure.
We've had some that request to be recognized, and we've had some that we've asked to come and be recognized, so I think
So-
the
Nothing wrong
PrAC
with
committee can be
recognition.
utilized to make sure we catch everybody.
Yeah.
So I think we always laid it on staff, and this is an opportunity for a volunteer to come to a volunteer and deal with it, so.
Everybody clear?
So we'll revise the so the direction is to
Revise
review the
policy.
report and revise the policy based on the discussion we had. I think we understand it.
I think so.
We're adding a role for PrAC
Yeah.
and vetting it, so
Yeah. Sounds good. Okay,
we just need a motion on it.
motion for that. Counselor Turner,
Second.
Counselor Elliott. All in favor? Good. Clear. Clear. Okay. Well, you're still up there.
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor Bridge. The second report that I created was to do with accessibility. We had a couple of interesting resources mailed to us from the Ontario Municipal Social Services Association. They were basically guides or handbooks to accessible meetings and accessible public engagement. These resources are something I feel that we can use to our advantage, not just for council, but also for department heads when we're planning and running meetings, just to meet the accessibility guidelines for things like that. What I'd like to do with that guidebook is basically take they have a bit of a checklist that you can use when you're preparing, planning, and executing your meeting. I'd like to distribute that to council and department heads. It's not a regulation, it is a guideline, and it just helps to meet the AODA Act. And this is just something that goes along with the built environment standards and things like that. And just trying to be more aware of people who have different types of disabilities, and just trying to ensure that they have the same access to things like meetings as everyone else. So this report was just for your information, that these resources are in, and I'll share some of that information with you through email if that's sufficient.
Questions? Nope. Open Mayor Fest first, and then.
Through you, Mayor Bridge, and with respect to the council seats, you mentioned there that it's not accessible without significant modification to the layout of the room. Is it necessary to do that, even if there aren't disabled or people that have accessibility problems sitting on the council, or do you make that change when and if someone that requires the accessibility?
Through Mayor Bridge, if it's not needed, then you wouldn't have to do that. However, if there was a counselor that had the need for that, then we would have to look at possibly a ramp, possibly just making this all main floor. We'd have to look at making it a bit wider back there, things like that. But to the best of my knowledge, if there's no need for it in a situation like this, then you wouldn't have to do it.
Good.
Just to add to Matt, he's absolutely right. Or if we were renovating our council chambers
Then we
in
would
general,
need to change it.
then you would want to put in accessibility features then. So then you didn't have to react if something were to happen.
And Mary Lou, and then Ron.
I just wanted to check the main, through you, Mayor Bridge, the main purpose of this at this point is just a look-see. Check off the items that you feel could be an issue and identify them. And then there would be more steps to take to make everything accessible, or?
Through Mayor Bridge, the Act specifies that there are different deadlines to make things accessible. In this situation here, these are just guides. There's a lot of things that even I didn't even take into consideration when you think about making meetings like this accessible. This portable microphone, for example, for public question period, if there was a member of the public who it would be easier for them just to have the microphone brought to them. So it's more of a guideline right now for when you're, for the most part, planning your meeting. So no, right now it'd be more about just some tips on how to make it accessible, simple things like that.
And identifying where we aren't accessible. Okay.
Absolutely.
Ron?
Could we not make the press table become part of council, and if that was the case instead, would that not make it accessible, and put a plate on it?
If I may, options can be discussed like that. You have to accommodate individuals with different abilities in the same fashion as other counselors as best you can. So in a case like that, I think they should sit with council.
Okay.
Rather than being a person off to the side from council.
Thank
So
you.
those are the kinds of things that Matt's bringing forward, that we be aware in that fashion.
Right?
And I think part of this, the checklist is just for us to be aware, if we were booking a meeting outside of this place or one of our other facilities, and we kind of thought to ourselves, have we gone through it? Is it accessible to make sure that if somebody came, they could get in with a wheelchair or whatever? Because we could be in, something and saying, so this is sort of us getting used to asking those questions beforehand.
Yep.
And it goes down to even if somebody was blind, do we have a Braille thing? If somebody was coming to our meeting and was blind, can we produce something in Braille for them? And those are the things that we would have to do, possibly, right? So it just keeps us aware. And as I say, as Matt says, they're guidelines, and they're not law yet, but definitely if we were redoing this, we'd want to get it to the right in case we had somebody here.
I agree, and we do have, with the county, with their accessibility
Yeah.
staff persons, we have a great resource there as well. Just like you mentioned, if you needed to translate things or,
If we needed something in Braille, they would provide it for us, which is a big bonus, because we could, at our level, have a very limited ability to do that kind of thing.
yeah, absolutely.
So, but we have to let the public know that's available.
Yep.
Very good.
Okay, thank you.
Recommendation to accept. Deputy Mayor Fisk, Councilor Faulkner, I saw his arm flying up there. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Matt. Are you doing this, Bill? Building?
Mayor Bridge, I guess I'll be acting CBO for now. The July building summary is available for your information. 2013, we issued 20 permits worth $1,095,000. That compares to 1.8 million and 33 permits in July of 2012. Overall, year-to-date, our permit numbers are down, but our construction value is slightly higher by about 500,000. And we had 17 residential units created to this date last year. This year, we have 16. So just a request that council receive the chief building official's report.
Any questions on the report? Okay. Councilor, Mary Lou, you want, Councilor Caldwell? Councilor Turton, all in favor?
Very nice.
Next is road widening. No, the Bauman agreement.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. I had mentioned to council that we had 5 land transactions in the industrial parks in Minto. We reported on 2 last meeting. This is number 3 coming forward. An agreement of purchase and sale with J.W. Bowman Limited, which is Countryside Concrete, to buy Lot 6 in the Harrison Industrial Park. This is a vacant property adjacent to the main building that this company has just recently purchased. Purchase price for this land is $10,000. It's not fully serviced. It actually sits adjacent to the highway, and in the agreement of purchase and sale, it is a requirement that it be joined to the other party's land, and then within 5 years, an additional 5,000 square feet be built on the property. So if we were to sell this parcel separate from these lands, a roadway and sewer and water would have to be put in through an easement across the main property that they already own. So this is the best use of the property from our perspective that we can see there. They would not be allowed to have access to the highway at that point. So our recommendation is that we proceed to a bylaw to allow the mayor and I to sign any documents pertaining to this sale.
Questions? Deputy Mayor Fisk.
Mayor Bridge, through you, is that covenant enforceable?
Yes, we believe the covenants are enforceable. The covenants were prepared, or the agreement of purchase and sale was prepared by our lawyer and reviewed by the purchaser's lawyer as well. So I believe they are enforceable. There was some time years ago that the legal community would tell you they weren't, but that particular case, I believe, in Cambridge was changed on appeal, and we do believe those are enforceable covenants.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Just a question for location
That's
for
our
me,
fault.
just to clear my mind. That where the red star is on page 2, is that adjacent to the Darcy?
Yes.
Or what's kitty corner, or where it touches on the corner? Why
Yeah,
is
it-
that drawn up like that?
The land that's got the star on it is adjacent to the Darcy building, which Mr. Bowman, I believe, has purchased and would
Correct.
be joining with this. The other blue parcel is the last remaining industrial parcel available in the industrial park in Harrison.
And the irregular shape right beside the star.
Those are the two triangles we actually acquired from the MTO.
Okay, thank you. Then I got it clear.
Yep.
Thanks. Yep.
Okay. Any other questions? Mover?
Sure.
Council Faulkner, second by Council Curtin, all in favor? Carried. Bill, do you want to continue?
Mayor Bridge, may recall the first year that I started here, speaking of the land triangles from MTO, we started a procedure to acquire those properties, which included transferring from the town to the province certain road widening lands. While we included in our notice lands on the north side of the highway, turns out Mr. Fisher and Mrs. Fisher own those properties, and they brought that to our attention. So the province thought we owned it, and we didn't. So we didn't end up transferring that property. But we did enter into discussions with Mr. and Mrs. Fisher about the parcel. It's shown in orange on your map. If and when we do phase 3 of our highway reconstruction, the intersection at Tuffy McDougal and so forth, we would need to do drainage works on these properties. And in order to do that work, we would either need an easement or ownership. Mr. and Mrs. Fisher have graciously agreed to convey them to the town at the original price that was in the appraised value of the lands back when the province thought they owned them. So we have prepared the necessary documents. The Fishers have signed off, and we just need your permission to proceed with that transaction as well.
Questions? Nope. Moved by Council Caldwell, second by Council Faulkner, all in favor? Good.
Mayor Bridge, I guess I'll play county planner today.
Yeah.
The next item is the part lot control bylaw for Milton Seiler Crescent. In your report, you have a map that shows 6 properties in green. These are vacant or properties that are under construction in the subdivision in Palmerston. Our bylaw to remove part lot control is a bylaw that exempts these particular lots from the requirements of the Planning Act that say you need to get a land severance to convey property. So what will happen is once that bylaw is passed, it goes to the county, and the county staff, Director of Planning, actually approves that bylaw. It gets registered on title for the lands, and when the 2 homes are built on this property, the lawyers can actually create the separate lots without having to apply for a severance. There was a bylaw passed in 2009 for these particular lots. It expired in November of 2012. So there is a 3-year period that's put on these conveyances, so the lawyers have to get this work done within that time frame. There are pending sales on this. Our recommendation and the county planner's recommendation is that council adopt the bylaw, and one has been prepared in the format that should do the trick to allow these conveyances to occur. So that's our recommendation.
Questions? Deputy Mayor Fisk.
Sorry to prolong things up. I'm just wondering, is it normal to approve the exemption after permits have been issued and construction started, or would you do that normally prior to all that happening?
I would say it is normal, and the only reason is this, really, you would like to have the buildings in place so that when they survey the actual lot, they get it right on the foundation wall. There's a common wall between these 2 units. So it is common to actually do it after the fact, after the construction has begun. And that way your survey is accurate. If you surveyed before, then you'd have to make sure the builder was right on the middle and all that sort of thing. So it's not unusual to do it in that fashion.
Anything else? Another mover? Deputy Mayor Fisk, Turton, all in favor? This is filling up quite nicely.
Yes.
Sure is. It is, eh?
Keep rocking along.
Yep.
Keep rocking along. Don't quit now.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. This next report on the Municipal Infrastructure Investment Initiative, MIII program, is coming forward based on a request from the Ministers of Infrastructure and the Minister of Rural Affairs that comments be provided on the structure of that pending infrastructure program. There were several outreach attempts by the province over the last few months to obtain comments, and our treasurer, Mr. Duff, did attend in Elmvale on August 8th, where there was many other treasurers of like mind who discussed how the 100 million for roads, bridges, and critical infrastructure would roll out from the province. When we had our joint delegation at AMO with North Perth and Wellington North regarding Connecting Link funding last week, the Assistant Deputy Minister encouraged Council to comment on this. Luckily enough, the Treasurer and I had already started our report.
Yep.
We took the liberty of including the Mayor's, well, a copy of the same letter the Mayor would have received. I seem to have misplaced the Mayor's actual letter. And the discussion guide that the province sent out, which is some 11, 12, 13 pages, not too bad in this case. So the purpose here is to try and get you to comment to the province directly on how you see this rolling out. I don't think I'll go into a lot of the background of what Building Together and Build Canada and all those various programs were, unless you're interested in hearing about that. What I think Council does know already is that the Treasurer and Public Works and other people are in the process of preparing an asset management plan. This is a mandatory plan that the province is requiring us to prepare in order to identify what our infrastructure needs are. What they're telling us is that in the future, that particular asset management plan will be used to determine whether you will or will not receive any funding under their infrastructure program. That's been made crystal clear to us, and in fact, the fact that we were so well along on our plan was one of the reasons why we received $590,000 grant for work on the 16th line culvert, one of the few municipalities to obtain funding under that program in Wellington that we know of. So the opportunity now is we know that the federal government in 2014 is to announce an infrastructure program. We know that there has been discussions between the province and the federal government on how they will work together on that. The province is asking how municipalities want that program to work. In the discussion guide, they outline 5 questions. The questions are, what are the challenges that are facing the municipalities? Should the program be merit-based or what they call an entitlement program? Should the program complement, how would the program complement and advance the work municipalities are doing? How can the program encourage use of a full range of infrastructure financing tools? And what are the other measures that would help municipal infrastructure challenges be addressed? We went into quite a bit of detail on each of the questions. In the first one, in particular, it's worth noting that we have $115 million worth of assets. The book value of those assets is the $65 million that gets reported in your annual audited report. But about half of our infrastructure is water related. So the good news is that in your water and sewer financial plan, you have planned for those needs already, and that was a good foresight by council, this council and past councils, to include sewer in that element of planning work. So a lot of your rate is structured to take care of your long and short-term capital needs in the water side. So that takes care of about half our assets. The other half is what the asset management plan will accommodate as well. So we will have a similar plan that will help us plan for what we do with non-water and sewer assets like our roads, recreation facilities, buildings, and so forth. in the issue of merit-based funding, I think it's been a consensus around the AMO discussion rooms and at the meeting that the treasurer went to that most municipalities were not in favor of a merit-based application process where year after year we had to apply with complicated applications that were reviewed and scored in a complicated way by the province. That process, in all our view, creates winners and losers. While we've been very successful in grants in the past, if you really want to plan properly, you need to know what your amount is going to be from year to year. So I think the suggestion in the recommendation is that we not have a merit-based approach. The other thing is the province calls it an entitlement program in the language in the document. It really isn't an entitlement program. It's funding assets that all our ratepayers require and others who come to this community need. And of course, we all pay plenty of income and property and other taxes. And to see some of that come back in infrastructure is very important, and in my mind, different than an entitlement program, but that's more of a personal observation than anything. The asset management plan, as we mentioned, helps us plan for our future needs. In terms of encouraging use of financing tools, I think at budget I presented to you a quote from municipal affairs documents that very much encourage municipalities to borrow funds to place, I'll call it the burden of maintaining infrastructure on current and future residents of the municipality. It has been a common approach over the years here and elsewhere to minimize the amount of debt. And the province is making very bold and direct statements that they feel borrowing is very much a legitimate way of financing your infrastructure debt. I don't know if any others attended a session where they had delegations from Wawa, Belleville, and Mississauga. In all three cases, all of them borrowed substantially against what they determined to be a sustainable level of financing in order to address their infrastructure needs. I'm not here telling you that that's what we should do. I'm just telling you that that's the language that's being spoken very directly at the province right now. So we'll need to think about that once we get into this, hopefully not merit-based funding mechanism, and when we get into implementing our asset management plan. We'll have to think about whether it would be appropriate to borrow against what may be, well, we get $260,000 in gas tax right now. It may be up to $500,000 or more annually that we get for infrastructure. Do you want to use that to pay for a much larger amount of debt to address things now? That's something that this council will have to work on at budget, and quite frankly, future councils will have to address in future budgets. The last point to make in this particular review is whether or not things like provincial gas tax access for rural municipalities or connecting link programs, which we don't have access to anymore, should be included in this $100 million rollout. When we approached at our joint delegation last week, what we were told as far as the connecting link program is that it was only a few $1,000,000, that they've rolled that all into the $100 million and that it's been bumped up. I think the argument we should put forward to them is that not all municipalities have connecting link highways. So in addition to our needs for under the $100 million infrastructure program, there are our connecting link needs, and they should be very different. So we shouldn't lose sight of that. The second is that many larger municipalities with public transit have access to the provincial gas tax. That is independent of this $100 million fund, and I think it's been the position of this council and other municipalities that are small that we should have access to that even though we don't have transit programs at our level. And last but not least is What we don't want to see is an infrastructure program come forward where there's a distinct allocation to infrastructure, and then on the back end, our annual Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund is reduced. Because if they do that, we're really not any further ahead. So I guess that's a long way of getting to the points that are made in the final page of your report and in the recommendation. And that we comment back to the province along those 6 lines in that report. That we support the new program and encourage the federal and provincial government to work together, and that they calculate some amount that should be allocated based on population, value of assets, and so forth. And that amount be sustained, and that it be not a merit-based program. It's based on a formula to be calculated. It also asks in there that we eliminate the entitlement program reference and that be called something else. That we still have access or get a special allocation for connecting link highways. That small and rural municipalities be given access to the provincial gas tax in addition to access to this $100 million fund. That they eliminate the cost of their merit-based funding applications so that at our level, we're not spending the time adding to the 200 some reports we have to do every year for them, and that they don't have to spend the time reviewing things. It's just an amount that comes forward, and we're implementing our asset management plan, and they should be comfortable with that. And finally, that whatever is done not impact on the Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund, which is very critical for our ongoing operations here. Those are the 6 recommendations that the treasurer and I have come up with. I don't know if there's anything more treasurer wanted to add, or if there's any questions.
You want to come up forward first, and then in case there's, and then Mary Lou? Go ahead, Mary Lou.
I
Or do
just
you
wanted to
you want to add something?
congratulate both Cord and Bill. This is an excellent report. And I think the merit funding personally is extremely important, that we have the ability to take an amount of money and spend it as we choose rather than applying for certain projects and then find others to be more imperative. So I commend you on the report. I think you've done an excellent job, and
It was quite interesting on that point, Mary Lou, when I was making our presentation to the minister, as I'm going into the fact that we weren't asked, we wanted to go away from merit funding, he said, well, aren't you Minto? And of course, you gotta remember, I had North Perth on one side and Wellington North on the other side, and he said, you got $600,000 under the current program. And and you're complaining? And I said, well, I'm not complaining, but I'm saying Wellington North, I know applied, didn't get something, and neither did North Perth. So I said, the problem is, and it seems what Bill's laid out here, is that it's just a lottery almost. You throw it in there and hope you get something. How can you plan further years forward without, and we've talked about at this council for many, many times, about the federal gas tax at least gives us that opportunity to put that away. Maybe it takes, use that over 3 years to get something done. And Gord and I both talked about it. It'd be nice to have something similar rather than that, always trying to rush to get something approved.
Yeah, that you can plan. I just want to mention that the session that I was at, I'd say about 3/4 of the municipalities that thought our way. But there was about 1/4 that they liked the merit base, and several groups were recommending a blend. So say we have $100 million, they take 50 million, it would be the some form of per capita, and the remaining would be the merit base, which they may tend to, but you're still, like all those things about, well, you have to fill out a form and do a report and all that, you're not going to escape that if that's the way they go. The other kind of issue of contention was the definition of rural. In this proposal, it's 100,000 and below, and I can't say that anyone there agreed with that one. The debate more was, do you go 25 to 50 or 60, like that would be your upper range? Because when you're hitting 100,000, you've got a lot more resources and probably an industrial base and all that kind of thing. But anyway, I think this is the last week for comments, and I think something's going to roll out in October. So I imagine you're going to have a fairly quick analysis of this feedback and report.
Councillor Falcon.
Through you, Mary Bridge, CEO White, your comment in respect to the 3 municipalities that had borrowed, I know one of the communities that you mentioned, and they're in dire straits simply because I guess they've now found out they have borrowed too much to do a project that then their demographics of the town changed, and now they're in difficulty because they can't support the amount of the debt. And that's where I got difficulty in that. Now, does that come under the merit system or the,
Right. Their case is definitely different than ours. I mean, they had to cut, their population dropped in half, and they had a
in
major
half.
mining industry close and all that sort of thing. What they were saying was that if this, just let's use some round numbers. If we were getting $500,000 a year annual sustained funding, what they did there was, well, over 20 years, that's what, 10 million?
10 million?
10 million.
So they'll borrow that 10 million now, knowing that they can pay it back with a sustained amount, just from the provinces and the federal government
Okay,
transfer.
yeah.
That's all.
That's-
So
I
they
thought
get that work done. Then, if 10 million here and 115 million worth of assets, that's taking everything you get and putting it all into one basket. So
Highly
like that.
leveraged.
I think it's too simplistic approach, but that's what they were
Thank you.
essentially pushing at those sessions.
Sorry, Ron? Did you have a-
I just wondered, we've got $100 million to work with, and it's all rural and small. How many communities are we talking, over 300? What are we talking
If you
about?
define that at the
At the
100, it would
100,000.
work out to roughly, if every community was equal, which they're not, $230,000 per municipality.
340 communities or something?
Yeah, about 340, yeah.
Mhm.
That's right, because as you know, we got, what, 445 total, and the majority are relatively small.
So it'd be 240, and is the plan, I know there's not supposed to be a plan, is the plan equal? Do you believe that?
That's what they're wanting the feedback on. It's like, they know it's 100 million, but how do we divide it? Do we divide it equally, or do we do it merit-based? And that's what they're gonna make the decision on.
Yep.
Thank you.
And I think that's where we're going, like, we've asked, like, either a gas tax or for other things to make it a more sustainable situation.
Consistent.
Yeah, consistent. And
Sure.
the other thing that this council has done a real good job of, and is we've built our assets up a little bit, some of our reserves, because we know in 2014, we may have an opportunity for maybe if this is in place, Gord, plus the federal one in 2014, we might get some third type funding compared to what we've been getting lately, which is, again, you only can do the job if you get it like good
Yeah.
16th line. If we had come in at
Sure.
200 and it came in at 600,
Right.
well, we wouldn't have been able to do it.
Yeah, and
I mean, we
think-
don't have the money to slaying
That's
around
right.
that we could do that. So
No.
I think this council's done a good job of positioning ourselves that we may be able to do some of that leveraging, Bill, within reason. And we've got some debt coming off, which gives us, again, an opportunity to maybe leverage some of that debt load that we've got coming off in 2014. I think it's, later on, you've got some information on that.
It's definitely a challenge,
Yeah.
because the federal government doesn't have pots of money, neither does the province, and of course, neither do we, and it's like, how do you do it as fairly as
And, but they are going to
possible?
be, federal governments in 2014 are bringing a new one in, so
That's right.
hopefully we'll get some of that money too.
I'm just wondering, CEO White, is there any chance that the provincial government is encouraging us as municipalities to borrow these large sums because they don't feel they're going to be able, it's going to be sustainable as far
That's
as
my fear.
future infrastructure funding?
Yeah, I can't say what their motives are. Don't like to guess at that, but I think that those comments, to me, are aimed at those municipalities who will not borrow, who simply say we're not going to borrow ever, and I think they're going to be looking for communities to use a range of tools: reserves, borrowing, dollars raised through taxes, user fees, however we can to make this work.
So do you think, like, the funding that we might be getting in the future for infrastructure, do you think we'll be allowed to pay down debt and to pay interest payments with that, or will we have to build roads and bridges and
Right.
whatever else, infrastructure-type projects, and we'll have to fend for ourselves as far as paying down the debt and paying the interest?
I think, if I may, through the mayor, say, I think that if we showed that we were doing $10 million of work that's in our asset management plan, then allocating their funds each year to pay down the debt, I don't think they would have a problem with that.
Possibly. That's another topic that came up at the session. You might remember a few grant programs ago, it had to be incremental. So you'd have your base capital budget and they would only fund items that were in addition to that too. So again, these things are all up for discussion. But thing is, we can barely make our base, so.
Yeah, and that's what we have to be careful about, is separating operating, what an operating cost would be to what our capital infrastructure deficits are.
Yeah, and then as one ministry official, it doesn't come in as much for roads and things, but like say for other facilities, it's like, don't get into the Ontario trap where here's the money to build it and there's no money to
Yeah,
maintain
no way
it.
to maintain it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Councillor
Just
Falk?
a question, I guess, for Gord or Bill. Am I hearing that perhaps then we should be commenting towards a blend as opposed to all merit or all?
I know.
I'm don't know
I'm
where to
pretty
go on this.
open-minded on it, but the problem is, like Bill has argued, the drawbacks of the merit base, and if you get into the blend, you still keep a lot of those drawbacks. Now, you also keep
True.
that potential thing of you may put in an application and you can do more with $1 million than 200,000. So, you know, there's no perfect solution, but those are the issues for sure.
I guess my mind's a little more closed. I think we need to look at the cost reduction. They need to look at the cost reduction at their end. They don't have the money to sustain their people, quite frankly, right now. So why are they putting in more programs that requires people to review them? They should.
And I think we brought that up in the meeting, one of the things, and Bill has it in here, 200 reports for a small community like ours. And that means 200 reports that we're sending off to them. What we just say when you told Councillor Elliott, with 300, just in our small 340 municipalities,
Yeah.
and then they've got people that hardly look at this stuff.
Who reads them?
And who reads them, yeah, and so, you know, we've had a couple that we've just sort of went, wow, what is this about? And there's a lot of duplication. They have to understand that that's where government has to get a bit smaller. And that's where I like about not going the merit plan, because if you go to giving us gas tax or sustainability and saying, this is yours to run, it gives the local municipalities, and I said in the meeting, I said, I believe I said this, Dave, but like we're growing people, we understand
Yes,
budgets,
for
and we
sure.
can actually look after our own money. And I think there's that perception in the province that
Yeah.
municipal governments are run by people that don't understand anything. So therefore, we'll hold on to the money and we'll give it to you when we think you need it, and if you have a good case.
The nice thing with federal gas tax is they've handed off the admin to AMO, which is our own association, so we don't have another level of
Exactly.
bureaucracy. Anyway.
No, and that's a good point, yeah. So I think all governments have to look at getting that, you know, cooperating a little bit better, and hopefully we can. Harry?
I don't know if you can answer this or not, Gord, but in the discussion paper on page 17, they give some statistics about property taxes. The average property tax bill is of total household income.
Oh, yeah.
Would you know where we sit in debt servicing and user fees, where our numbers would be?
Half of all collected there.
It's page
Well,
17.
I'm gonna.
Page 17?
Yeah, I'm reading that. I'm gonna say that our property taxes would be, I'm thinking in the 4 to 5% in our range, because we're not a high income area, and of course we know our taxes are high enough, and probably right around that 3 or 4%. And I think that's something that's common to large and small municipalities. The property taxpayer is getting tapped out, you know, and that's why we're looking at, you call it what you want, revenue tools or whatever, but it's user fees and.
They're pretty well maxed out, really.
Yep.
I come back and I know you never hear it anymore, is that 1 cent of the GST, because we've all seen it, you know, the municipalities have now got the assets, and primarily the federal government's got the revenue
Got the
tools.
revenue.
and, you know, whether, that's what the gas tax is, it's like a share of that. If there was some other kind of larger pot of money that the municipal sector, because you've all seen the graphs. In 1960, the municipalities had, you know, whatever, 20% of the assets and, you know, 10% of the tax revenue. Now we have 60%, and we still have our 10% of our tax revenue, so, yeah, it's
I
difficult.
think the taxes should come to us, and then we send them on
Well,
up to
there
the
you
province
go.
and federal. And
Well,
the system would work a lot smoother than it works now.
Yeah, and we all
More
have to look the
efficient.
taxpayer in the eye, which some others don't. Anyway.
Yeah, good point. Okay. We have a motion to accept. Deputy Mayor Fisk, Councillor Faulkner, all in favor? Okay. Good job, Bill. Gord?
Good job.
Yeah.
Excellent job. Next item?
Mayor Bridge, our clerk's assistant has written you a report on the Fall Fair road closures. This is for the Harrison Fall Fair after a much successful Palmerston Fall Fair parade that my wife and I witnessed last Friday. You were all very excellent that you were able to make it.
That arm.
How, what, there was, I'm gonna
I
have to
think there
maybe
was a
put,
candy issue.
put belts on them, though. They were running off there's a health and safety issue. People are running away off my little unit as the driver. I'm responsible. And they're running, giving candy to people in their houses and come running back.
Mayor Bridge,
Counselor.
there was only one health and safety issue in there, and that was the CO coming off that tractor. I don't know how you stood it. Can't believe it.
Well, it's a lot better than it was.
Not much.
Not much.
They put high octane gas
Yep.
in it.
Anyways, going forward, we'd like to do that again. Do you want,
That was
do you want
great.
to bring the little tractor over to Harrison? We floated it over last year. You guys up for
Yeah.
that, or?
Sure.
Okay, all right, sorry.
Well, when you do have your train, you can start your parade out on George Street.
Yep.
And you'll head north,
Is there tracks there? We need
northwest, I
tracks.
guess, down to Union Street and south on Union to Laura Street North, avoiding the Highway 9 construction, which will be underway at that point in time, and then you'll head southeast on Laura Street toward, over the bridge, through the lights to Young Street, and you'll parade northwesterly, I guess, into the arena parking lot. So the bylaw that's on before you would allow for that road closure to occur.
Same route every year.
September 14th.
Somebody want to recommend?
It's William instead of Union.
Sure.
Councillor Elliott, Councillor Faulkner, all in favor?
Be glad to.
Good.
Always William. Just asked a question. Previous years, hasn't it been William rather than Union? So you're cutting back a block?
Yeah, it is cutting back one block.
Okay.
Construction will be on then.
Okay.
You just want it because you want to go by your place.
Well, I just thought it's nice and convenient.
Yeah, you'll be on.
It'll be on the float.
Not for me, for
Okay.
our grandchildren.
What
Oh, I
time's the
know,
float?
it's okay.
What time's the parade? Told me the exercise.
Yep.
Okay. Mayor Bridge and Council, I'm bringing forward to you a report for the 6th Annual Volunteer Appreciation Event. Last year we held it, and I'm sorry I says 2013 on there. The 2012 event was held at the Palmerston Community Centre, where we had over 150 volunteers attend. This has been going on since 2008. What I'm looking at for 2013, I'm asking that you would look to put it in Clifford this year, as we've had it in Palmerston and Harrison and out here at the administration office. The financial considerations, I'm suggesting again a budget of $900 to $1,000, and I am looking for direction on budget and date. For your information as well, Local Government Week is being held October 20th to the 26th of this year, so that may be something that you would want to avoid. We usually do something with the schools, or you can do it in the same week too, it's up to you.
Questions?
What's the
just wonder
normal
what the-
date? What would be the normal date we would hold this?
Well, it was held October 18th of last year.
Why don't we keep it at the same time?
Send that out and see
Around the
what.
same week? Yeah, I can send
see
it
what-
out to you and see what works for
look at
everybody.
their-
So that would be a Thursday, the 17th?
So it'd be the 17th?
Well, Mayor Bridge, if I may,
Yep.
Anlene mentioned local government week. It's probably a good time to actually
Exactly.
have it
Do it in
that
local.
same time as part of our local government week celebrations. I know Anlene has to organize the kids all coming here and stuff too. but I know we're able to help her out
So
as
you
well
want to do it
with
on
the
the
evening
18th?
event, so.
24th then?
That's Rural Summit Week at Pike Lake.
Yes, that's why that's gonna be tough, because we're gonna be, I was just thinking of that. You had it down in your book, I was just looking at
Yes,
it,
sir.
Blackberry.
So we want to go the week before then?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna be really tight.
Rural Summit's 24th, that's right.
Yeah, starts the 24th,
Is that written down?
It's
That's at Pike
22nd,
Lake.
23rd.
Oh, no,
22nd,
yeah.
23rd.
And, yeah, okay.
All right.
When's the Savor the Flavor event?
The third.
Third.
But I think 17th, I guess, sounds like it. That's the Thursday.
17th? Mary Lou?
I was just wondering if you had a menu in mind this year.
Yeah. that'd be
I
it.
do not have a menu in mind. I'll be asking council.
Right.
I'll be emailing you all and speaking to you on that, and you can let me know what you guys feel you're up to cooking.
No scalloped potatoes.
Ham and scalloped potatoes for the CEO.
What?
No,
What did we have last year?
we had
Smoked pork chop.
smoked pork
Oh, yeah,
chops
smoked
and
pork
the
chops,
pasta.
yes.
and
Or smoked
And that was
salad.
pretty.
And a barbecue that didn't
cumbersome.
work very good.
We didn't barbecue, did we?
Oh, do we
No.
not
Oh, it was in.
No,
It
no.
was in the
Oh,
oven.
no, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, we barbecued in the pans.
Yeah.
In the pans.
Okay, so something different this year, okay.
I can come up with some different menu ideas and present them to you by email and let you know.
Just to add,
The budget as well, are
that's
you wanting
fine.
to stay with the same budget?
Yep. We have that money, Gordon? Oh, he's leaving us.
he's going to get the.
Want to get the money
Going to
now?
get the money.
Get the money.
What a guy.
You can go grocery shopping.
Yeah, we need a motion. Counselor Turton and Deputy Mayor Fisk, all in favor? Good,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Sam.
Oh, those tough fish chops.
And I'm turning it over to Counselor Turton,
Thank you, Mayor
the
Bridge.
Chair of Public Works.
Thank you very much. Today, we have 2 items on our Public Works agenda. The first one, talking about the winter maintenance on the connecting links, and the second one is resurfacing the fourth line of Minto. So I'll turn it over to Brian for the first one, please.
Thank you, Chair. As you recall, last year, council signed an agreement with Owen Sound Highway Maintenance for its winter maintenance program. A copy of that agreement is attached. This is for the maintenance of Highway 9 within the village of Clifford and Highways 9 and 89 within the town of Harrison. The province tendered the winter maintenance workout for the next 12 years to Owen Sound Highway Maintenance Limited, this being their second year of the 12-year contract. This year's rates, as you see in the village of Clifford, is $6,900 plus HST, and within the town of Harrison, it's $7,750. So the recommendation is that council receives a report from the Public Works Director regarding the winter maintenance of connecting links agreement and considers approving a bylaw in regular session authorizing the mayor and CO of the town of Minto to sign this agreement.
Last year's.
Any
Questions?
Oops,
Pardon me?
sorry.
Questions for our Director of Public Works? Deputy
I
Mayor
have a
Fisk.
question. I'm not sure it's for Brian. It's just with respect to insurance. It mentions that we maintain adequate liability insurance, and I'm just wondering, we're not providing the service, so why are we providing liability insurance?
I guess it's just, we're contracting the service in our municipality, so we would be named if something were to happen anyway, so we have to make sure we have a proper amount of coverage. Our coverage is 20 million, I believe.
They'll be insured as well, though.
They would need to carry their own insurance, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? So you've heard the recommendations. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Mayor Bridge. Councillor Elliott, all in favor of that motion? Against? That's carried. Thank you very much. Second issue today is the resurfacing of the fourth line of Minto.
Mayor Bridge and members of council. This report's in regards to the fourth line resurfacing. The road itself is 3.6 kilometers long. The last reconstruction that we have on record is 1983. Over the past few years, it has been noted that the road itself is failing, and it was identified in the 2008 road need study. You can see the pictures on the back of the report there. The one picture there shows the slope of the road being at about 11%, and then the bottom picture just shows the location of the road, which is about 500 meters east of Side Road 1, and that section's roughly about 30 meters long, and the travel portion of the road should run at approximately 2%. We have received a couple of quotes to do the pulverizing on the road, and the prices came back. Rotomill is 49 cents per meter squared, and the Wamsu Brothers Incorporated or Limited came in at 48 cents. We've had, Brian and myself, we both had dealings with both these companies, and they are very, very good companies. And the additional, we proposed to put an additional 6 inches of gravel on the surface itself to try to stabilize the road better to get through the need right now. This wasn't going to be a capital project. We were just going to do it based under the operating budget. And is there any questions?
Any questions, these gentlemen? Go ahead, Councillor Faulkner.
Thank you, Chair Turton. The length of the reconstruction,
Yeah.
did I,
3.6 kilometers. Goes from County Road 6 down to County
oh, there it
Road
is,
109.
sorry. Yes,
Any other questions, Deputy Mayor Fisk?
Is this the road past C&M Seeds, or where is this? What road is this?
isn't that Terry Ross to the
Yep.
corner?
Yes.
Yep,
Yeah.
Terry Ross's road.
Yeah, to the corner,
yep.
to Highway 109.
109 to Wellington Road 6.
Yep.
So this sloping that's taking place, is that
No.
because of traffic heavier than the road was built to handle, or is it just natural after
That could
30
be,
years?
like with the elevated road surfaces there too, there's not much side stability to that either. So over the years, just the constant traffic going through there's pushed the side slopes down, which is creating that crowning effect on the road.
Mayor Bridge?
And this is sort of like, we talked about, this is gonna turn from a hard surface to a more of a granular surface, a gravel surface, and we'll wait and see what happens before we turn it back into, or are we thinking of not turning it back into?
Tar chip.
Well, it'll be council's decision, but
Right.
like for right now, there is some more investigative work that needs to be done to see how the drainage acts in the spring thaw.
Right.
With it being a gravel surface, so we may have to do some more drainage work on their French drains or tiling or whatever. What else is, the cross culverts in the road, they haven't been inspected to see what state they are in, if they need to be replaced before a hard surface goes back on. There is a bridge, that's on that road, and it's in good shape. And there was a concrete culvert which was replaced in 2009, I believe. So both those structures are sound at this time, so they're not a concern. It's some of the other stuff that we just want to make sure that is okay before we do proceed with anything further.
One other question to follow up, then
Yes,
I asked
go ahead.
Brian. We had the report, and you were talking to council about maybe where are we going to go in the future, like we going to leave some of them gravel or whatever. Are we developing some kind of protocol that we're going to kind of know, like traffic monitoring, this type of thing, or traffic, whatever?
Yeah, well, we're hoping that, I've been working along with Gordon with the asset management plan.
Right.
And hopefully when we get back the roads needs and the bridge needs studies from that, and we see how some of the other infrastructure's going, then we may have to on a temporary basis, turn some of them back into gravel and see where we go with the funding at that time.
But we'll have a protocol
Yeah.
of like, as I say, because I think that's going to be important when you go out to the public,
Yeah.
that they kind of have a handle on, why we did this road and not that road, that it's not just who lives on a road to get something
Yeah.
done, but there is a protocol. I think it would help the counselors, I'm sure, out
Yeah.
there in the world.
Yeah, traffic volumes
Yeah.
will play a definite.
That sounds good. I
yes.
mean, that's all right, I'm not, you're the man.
I think that road need study is extremely important. I mean, we heard loud and clear in Ottawa that there's a lot of credit goes to that in a lot of municipalities, and there's some municipalities that don't do it and they get in trouble, so. Do you have something else? Yeah.
Yeah, I just, is this project going to be done yet this fall? Is that the plan?
Yes, yes.
And so this project will be done before we receive our road needs study?
It will, but it's been on it since 2008.
On the road needs study.
Yes,
Yep.
for
So it's-
replacement, yeah.
It's a priority
Yeah.
regardless of what the road needs study says. It's
Yes.
going to be one of the roads that we have to get
Yeah.
busy and get.
It has been already identified in a previous study, so,
And it's getting worse.
yeah.
It's starting to really get bad.
'Cause I think we're going to find we've got a few roads that we're going to
Yes,
have
right.
to act on very quickly. The one is the second there where we stopped and there's no guardrails. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a disaster waiting to happen, and if it isn't near the top of the list, it should be. And so I don't know I don't know where that road fits in our plans right now, but I'm
I-
hoping it's near the top.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen any of the results back from the study yet.
Right.
Triton's working on it, and we're hoping to have something here within the next couple weeks, so, yeah.
So Rhoda-Mill is Orangeville, and Walmsley Brothers, where are they? Sorry?
I think they're out of London.
London?
Rhoda Mills out of Orangeville.
Yep.
Walmsley Brothers out of London, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? So, the recommendation that the Council of the Town of Minto receives report 2013-29 regarding the fourth line, resurfacing from the Public Works Road Foreman, and approves the hiring of Walmsley Brothers Limited to complete the pulverizing of the existing road surface. No more questions? Can I have a seconder and a mover and a seconder? Councillor Caldwell, Councillor Elliott, all in favor of this motion? Against? That's carried. Thank you very much. Go ahead, sir.
I just, if I may, I'm not sure whether this is proper protocol, but since the guys are here and I don't want to leave them, I have a question about a public works question. Can I bring that forward at this time?
Sure. Sure. I don't see any problem. Go ahead.
Okay. I just worrying about the parking lot in Palmerston, right beside the Jay's Restaurant.
Yeah.
It's blocked off, and I get all kinds of questions. I forget to ask every once in a while that, what exactly is happening there.
There's a washout that was created in that parking lot. We were in there, I wanna say about 4 years ago, and there was a hole there at that time as well, and we filled it with gravel and patched it. It has come back again, so we've got locates called in for it. We're gonna do an exploratory dig on it to see what's happening in underneath there. It's believed there was an old feed mill there,
Feedback, yeah.
and there was a
Silo.
fire, and I don't know if it wasn't put back properly or what the deal is there. But we're gonna do an exploratory dig on that to see what's going on, and then if we have to bring like if it's a larger issue than what we think it is now, then we'll have to bring another report back to council on that.
When do you expect
Next,
you will be doing this so that people are asking? why
yeah,
they-
we're gonna do the dig next week. We're a little short-staffed this week, but
Okay.
next week we're gonna go in there, yeah.
From, just to add on to that, I think the information I've been getting back is that when that old feed mill burnt down, I think they just backfilled it with that and just pushed it in the hole, and that probably has a lot of cavitation underneath it. That's causing a lot of problems. But we'll find out probably
Yeah,
next week
They'll
when,
put those big cement pillars back in there.
might have to.
Brian, I have one question on the last motion. I forgot to ask it. How do we let the people on the fourth line know that it's gonna be pulverized and that their beautiful blacktop won't still be there?
We can send out notice to all the
We should.
residents on that road before anything does happen, for sure.
Right.
Because there likely will be a lot of questions after it gets done.
Yes.
So, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'll pass the chair back to you, Mayor Bridge.
I'll pass it on to Councillor Caldwell to assume the chair for the treasurers.
Okay, the treasurer has 4 items on the agenda today, 4 very important items. The first one is budget revisions in regards to our water meters. The second is a budget review as the current status. And everyone was given a printout on their desk today. And then the third and fourth items are approval of accounts. So could I please turn it over to Treasurer Duff to review the budget revisions?
Great, thank you, Chair Caldwell. So this is what we've been talking about for the last couple of months, that, you know, we set our budget in February and March, and then a few things have come to light since then. So primarily, the whole water meter project, we had envisioned that as being done over 4 years. For primarily operational reasons, we'd like to do that over 2, which means we're gonna need to finance that soon. So originally, we were gonna borrow $500,000 in 2013, and then maybe $250,000 in the next couple of years. So I would like to move that up to $1 million. We should save a little bit in going to the market once too. And I think everyone at AMO was probably chatting to the county people. The county has had their Standard & Poor's rating raised from AA stable to AA positive. So that is a good indication that our borrowing, and, you know, notwithstanding this week's events and that too, I think we're got to be really close to the bottom of the whole interest rate cycle. So again, I think that would be a reason to move forward. And I still have the $500,000 for the Clifford land purchase. So that's the primary reason. And again, we have nothing in here for medical centers or that, because they're not quite ready to move forward on that on our behalf. At the same time, I thought if we're going to go and revise it, we should maybe address a couple of other items that we didn't know about earlier in the year. One would be the Minto-Howick boundary. So I have that in there, trying to finance our share of $130,000 there. We just received the tenders for the Elora Street Connecting Link work. It's close to budget, but it's probably going to be, I'm thinking 50 to 100 over. So when we revise our budget, of course, we can't change the tax levy. So that's fixed at the $328,000. So what we've done is move some money from reserves. So if we don't spend it, great, we'll have it to carry over. But I at least want to have it in there so that it fits the most accurate forecast that we have. So in effect, this will be one step towards authorizing. We haven't made the decision if we're going to go through Infrastructure Ontario or borrow through the county as we have in the past, but we know we'll need your authority to proceed further if we decide to do that. So.
Okay, are there any questions, Treasurer Duff? Yes.
What's the advantage of moving the 4-year project down to 2?
The two
Other
primary...
than the potential cost of borrowing?
Yeah, the primary one is you have the people on site twice instead of 4 times. From my point of view, and I think it's going to assist you too, is we're going to be able to gather data on the actual consumption, bring in our, like Watson and Associates to review the data, and change our rates once. And we'll avoid the situation where we have one part of the municipality on one rate scheme and the other on the other, and I think that's going to be a benefit down the road, especially the more I think about it.
And I think what we heard at AMO, that the ones that went the other way are wishing they had done
I think you're
what
right.
we're
We heard a
planning
lot
on.
of that too, yeah. And this is the compromise. The contractor wanted to do the whole thing all at once this year, and I think that's not realistic. I think spreading it over a couple, and in fact, as far as I know, it's going to start very shortly. We're going to have a prominent citizen kick it off, and primarily the people in Palmerston are encouraged. They've had a couple of mail-outs by now to start making their appointments and that too. So
Thank you, Gord.
yeah.
So I just wanted to verify if we, right now, the recommendation is just to accept the report and consider the passing of the bylaw, but the
Right.
bylaw would authorize you to to borrow the money.
Yeah, in effect, if it's like the last few times when we borrowed, what we've sent to the financing agents and the legal people is a copy of our capital budget, and that's the authority. By you approving, like Schedule A to the budget, that's saying, okay, this is a legitimate project, and we're gonna borrow for it, and that's how it goes, and then the county has to pass various things.
And
at
we
their
leave it
meetings.
to you to negotiate terms and interest rates?
A little bit, but I don't really do that. See, this is kind of the advantage. If we were totally on our own, we'd have to get one of these credit ratings, and we'd have to deal with that.
Right.
By going through the county, they do the negotiating of the terms and that too. And in the past, they've used National Bank and Bordner Ladner Gervais as a legal firm. So, and it all goes through the county. So the county goes and borrows on our behalf, and that's why you see these bills come through that we're paying the county. What we're doing is reimbursing the county because they've gone out and borrowed
It's
it.
under the county.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the advantage of that too, Gord, is the fact the county will go out and they'll ask any other municipalities, and they'll have their own borrowing that they've got to do. So
Mhm.
again, we do one source borrowing, and so
That's
it's,
right.
we're out in the market
I
once.
think that's good.
So instead of having all of us trying to go out and,
Yeah,
we
go to
we
a-
get the best possible rate
Yeah.
doing it that way.
That's right.
I was just wondering what term period you were looking at.
I'm
and then-
thinking of 10 years, but I'm open to any suggestions you have too. Now the Clifford one, if 20 is better, I might go, because realistically, we're not gonna turn that land over in 5 years or something. That is gonna be a long-term thing. I'm thinking the water meters, like ideally, your maximum is you take your term and match it to the life of the asset.
Right.
So I don't know if I wanna go and do 20 years for water meters. You know,
Yeah.
it's a mechanical thing, whereas if it's like a sewer plant or something, then you go 30 years if you want. But I'm thinking 10 for the water and maybe 20 for the land. I'll see what the difference is.
I guess, Gord, I'll ask you this, I mean, in our Watson plan,
Mhm.
did they not, we had built this lending into that.
That's right.
Did they build an amortization?
Yeah, and they were thinking of 10 years.
Okay,
and
because
years, yeah.
because those, see, the rates are already, the rates we're doing in water are already built in for what we're borrowing. We're not changing anything that way, right?
No,
So this is
exactly.
just
we're
we're moving a little
carrying it
quicker,
out. Yeah.
But they've all been built into that rate that we're out there right now with.
That's right. And I think roughly we were chatting with one of the guys at NAMO, and 20-year money was just under 4%
Yeah,
right
it's
now.
really good right now, but,
Which is, yeah, so.
and I imagine 15 and 10 will be the slightly
Yeah,
less.
like, I think it was maybe 2.9 or so.
2.9,
for-
the less amortization, the better the rate, so.
Yeah.
I like your idea of maybe going that, like on the water meters, no more than 10.
Yeah,
And, because that's already in the plans, we don't have to change anything.
right.
Land could be a whole different thing, because land is there, and
Yeah.
you could stretch that out longer, because I
That's
think we
right.
talked about the fact, if and when we sell lots off there, we're going to end up paying off that debt anyways, so
right.
you'll have opportunities to maybe,
That's right, yeah.
I'm sorry, Counselor Elliott, I believe you had your hand.
I had a question on rates, but that was answered, thanks.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Counselor Faulkner?
Thank you, Chair Colwell. Say the Clifford land, and population pressures
Mhm.
came up sooner than expected, but, and we just happened to turn that over. Can we pay off that debt prior to the amortization period?
No, you can't, and that's one of the, on the type of borrowing that we have been doing, there is no, it's like a closed mortgage, if you like.
So you don't
So
have
if you
to put
borrow
that
for
into
20
reserves?
years, yeah, we could have a huge windfall, and you'd still have
Okay.
to, yeah.
it would go into reserves, but.
Sure, you would, yeah,
So it's just like,
that's right.
Okay. So, is there any other questions? Then the recommendation is the council of the town of Minto accepts this report and considers the passage of the related amendments to bylaw 2013-9. May I have someone make that motion? Councillor Turton? Councillor Faulkner? All in favor? Opposed? Passed. And if we go on to item number 2, which is a budget review.
Okay, and this is the status of where we were at the end of June. If you recall, the last meeting, we had a very heavy agenda, so we kind of deferred that one to this one, and probably good. So keep that in mind. This is only halfway, and we've had another couple of months since then. Again, overall, it doesn't look too bad, but if you dig in between, there are some issues that I think we're all very, very well aware of. I won't go through, I assume you've all had a chance to review it, but I'll maybe just touch on some of the highlights. One of the good things, I guess, with our admin is like we've been pretty much on budget, and I've done the June 30th transfer, so when we have a reserve transfer per budget, it's all in there, so that's 100% of it, and it tends to inflate some of those expenses. Fire, again, we have most of our payments and salaries and that towards the end of the year, so it looks very good right now. But the fire department, I know, has had a very active year, and I'm sure their expenses will be a bit higher than they were last year. People and property, normally that's conservation levies and that's about it. However, to facilitate our application for disaster relief, I've put the largest share of the ice storm in April in there, and I think it's about $88,000 here, and I know there's more bills have come in since then, and we've also had 2 to 3 severe windstorms, some after June too, so we've really been hit with a lot of things there too. Public Works, we had quite a severe winter this year. So just, you know, the cost of winter control is definitely up, and it's swamped our resources basically. So we've done what we can, but we basically spent our whole 12-month winter control budget, and we're praying for an extremely dry and mild fall here. That's about it. And then water and sewer, no real issues there. Cemetery. Recreation is going well. It's kind of funny, Clifford has been very busy, and Harrison not so busy, but then in the last few weeks ago, we've had a lot of activities in Harrison. And other things, that not too many big surprises in recreation. Building, again, another busy year. It's funny, it's really kept up. I think we certainly haven't noticed a real estate slowdown here. And economic development, a lot of the things that were originally budgeted are in full swing. We had our farmers market start, and so operating, getting hammered by the weather. That's our issue. Everything else isn't too bad, but we are. And I know Director Hansen is trying to save a bit where he can on maintenance and things like that too. I don't think we're going to fully offset everything, but we'll try anyway. As far as capital, I was really happy with not just the price of the server replacement, but this is about the third one I've been through, and this was the most painless. Like, we didn't really have too much downtime or anything. I remember the last one, you know, we're on the phone with BlackBerry for 2 weeks or something, so I think that's been good. We got our roof repair. There's some other issues with this building to do yet, but anyway. And as you can see, at June, the fire hall in Harrison had just started. The Ayton Road paving, it's now complete. Most of that was done. Clifford and our other vehicle purchases have gone through. We're working through, it sometimes seems like the paper end of projects are much longer than the actual thing, but I know Bill's been very busy trying to get the final easements and design work on the Force Main project going through. And as you see, we're continually working on the Palmerston inflow and infiltration. Palmerston Well 4 is pretty much done, and the water meters are to commence shortly. And Al has been busy at all the locations getting the recreation projects going. Yes, we survived another pool season, and again, economic development, primarily that one land acquisition, and that was done in the early part of the year. So that's basically where we are. Not maybe as good as a year ago, but we'll just try and handle it best we can.
Anyone have any questions for Treasurer Deputy Councilor Turton?
Thank you, Chair Caldwell. 2 questions. When you say the fire is very active, that means that all 3 centers, our calls are up?
I believe so, in talking with the chief, yeah. Like compared, we had a fairly lower year last time.
Last year, yeah.
Yeah, and so when you only pay like 1 or 2 times a year, that doesn't kick in till later.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What's the ETA on the building, the fire hall?
The
in
fire
Harrison?
hall building, I believe they're looking at being done.
September, late-
Yeah, late
late
September, yeah. Like, it seems like the pace just by walking by has really picked up,
Mhm.
and,
Has it? Oh,
yeah.
okay.
A slow start, as we know.
Mhm.
I wondered if you had any feel for if that project was gonna come in on budget.
Far as I know, I haven't heard because they had a lot of negotiations up front with the engineer and the architect, and I think they made a commitment,
Okay,
so we'll see when our last bills come in, but yeah.
Councillor Elliott.
This is to do with recreation wages.
Sure.
We budgeted so much for recreation wages, and presently, we have some difficulties with staff. We had a staff down and probably off on insurance,
Long time, yes.
long-term insurance.
Yeah.
Are we presently trying to Band-Aid that with the present staff, or are we using that money that, we obviously aren't making a paycheck anymore?
That's
You know,
right.
The long-term we're making that, could we use that money to hire a full-time, part-time person to replace that?
Maybe Bill can.
Or-
Yeah,
something.
through the chair to Councillor Elliott. The facilities manager has been monitoring the health of the individual in question, and it looks like it's going to be longer term than we had originally thought. So he will be coming with a plan that would move some people around internally, and that would come to you as a personnel matter, so that would come in closed. And then you can talk about it then, and then it would be announced and open.
Okay, then we could talk about dollars and cents and how much.
And so right now, he's been backfilling with part-time,
Yes,
giving them a few more hours, so there is a small savings there.
okay, thank you.
And then the final 2 items on the agenda for the Treasury Department is the approval of accounts for both August the 15th and August the 23rd. And I would ask Treasurer Duff, oh, I'm sorry, we didn't,
You didn't get a
I
motion,
didn't get a motion.
sorry.
New at this job.
What?
Oh, well, no recommendation, is this report is being provided for council?
Just to
You can
receive.
accept the
to receive
report.
it.
Just, okay, may I have Councillor Faulkner to receive the report, Councillor Elliott? All in favor? Thank you, approved.
Good to go.
Now we'll move on to the final 2
Okay.
items, which are the approval of the accounts, and I'll turn it over to Treasurer Duff.
Okay, so the August 15th was a large one, 488,000. And this is where you see our capital money being spent. We had $122,000 in our fire project going forward on that one. $109,000 in vehicles. Unfortunately, $32,000 in tree cutting and clearing the brush and that too. Another $15,000 on the I&I project too. So those are kind of the main highlights from that one.
Can we accept them both together, or do you want individual?
Continue, okay, so next one's a little more routine one, 282. We did some surface treatment loose top MSO for about 52,000. Another $36,000 in the Palmerston I&I project. We're right in the middle of grass cutting, so that's about almost $19,000, and our hydro at 38, so we're basically more operating expenses on that one at 282.
Okay, are there any questions on either of the approval of accounts? No? Then the recommendation, oh, I'm sorry, Mayor
Oh,
Bridge?
no, I'm just gonna move for you.
Okay. The Council of the Town of Minto receives the Treasurer's Report dated August 15th and August 23rd regarding approval of accounts, and approves the Town of Minto accounts by department for August 2013. Moved by Mayor Bridge, seconded by Councillor Turton. All in favor? And passed. Thank you.
And there's just one other kind of maybe a background thing that I thought you might be interested in. Even if we do go ahead and approve the 1.5 million in debt, our total debt level at the end of 2013 will be approximately 7,350,000. And at the end of 2011, it was 7,750,000. So we're still, I mean, we've done really well the last 3 years of going down roughly $1 million a year. We're going back a bit, but we're still ahead of where we were when we started this term, so.
Good.
It's all good.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay,
I turn the chair
Yep.
back to Mayor Bridge.
thank you, Councillor Caldwell. Other business as disclosed, additional items, and I have, I'll start Ron at that end, and
Okay,
we'll
mine
look-
was
I
the-
don't miss anybody.
Mine was the parking lot, so.
Oh, it's already
yeah,
done?
it's all
Okay, and Ron?
Just a couple things, Mayor Bridge. The Minto Family Health building that was being considered over at the hospital is going through like a review at the provincial government level, so it's kind of on hold. And the doctor's situation, Dr. Doyen, has her hearing, I believe it's September the 12th, but it's in that week that she goes before the College of Physicians. And then apparently they've introduced another process that she'll probably have to go through, so it could be a little later than originally anticipated that she would start. So it's probably going to be sometime in November now.
Councillor, weren't they supposed to be streamlining the process? I
Yeah,
kept hearing in
that's-
the press, they were streamlining so we get more doctors on.
Well, it's streamlined, all right.
Okay.
They just widened the river a little bit, I think.
Bigger stream.
Bigger stream.
And just from the plowing match standpoint, we've now got our HST number, and so.
Ready to
we're,
roll.
Ready to roll.
Bill, do you want to do? You don't have any? I had you down here.
Mayor Bridge, I mentioned that we had an additional closed item, which was related to a
Oh,
land
that.
sale.
Well, very good. Okay, good. All right. And Terry?
Did we deal with the minutes of the Committee of Adjustment meeting, or were they included with the minutes from the general the actual council meeting?
They were attached to Schedule A, so they would have been included in the,
Did you have a question on it?
Well, I just wondered, that when they were here, I think it was asked what the fine was that was levied on behalf of the town, and I was hoping maybe Terry would have been here to tell us that, but
Yeah.
I can't answer that,
no.
but I could email you after, so you all knew what it was, but
I would like to know.
you can speak of it next meeting in open council if you wish.
Okay. The other thing is, I mentioned the last meeting, or asked about the shoulders out here on 89. It looks to me like they've done something differently. Were you able to talk to anybody about that?
There was no change to it whatsoever.
No, there isn't.
Granted, that was
Okay. And they're gonna stay like that then? Okay.
With new pavement.
And
They look a little wider.
It looks
I
wider.
thought it did coming out anyway.
Yeah.
It didn't
Yeah.
travel the whole
Maybe it's
road.
falling.
Well,
It
I'm
looks
not
wider,
sure they
Brian.
had them all done when we.
It's not, eh?
Looked at them.
Spreading out,
I think they're saying it was.
No, they don't want to tell you.
Wow.
spreading out.
I think asphalt.
I don't think
And I guess maybe this question would be for, I don't know who, maybe Brian as well, but at AMO, we sat in on some of the insurance liability problems, and sounds like signage is really becoming more and more important as far as liability when there's problems on a road. And I think I asked Bill the question about, does our roads and bridges need study include signage, or is that something that we may have to do separately?
You know, we've done that separately.
We
We've
have
done
to-
our- Yeah,
okay.
we've all done our signage for reflectology and what needs to be replaced. So
Because there,
we're on top of that. There is some chevrons that need to be placed. Off the top of my head, that's the only thing I can think of right now. Plus a few odd signs that need to be replaced because of reflectology.
apparently there was a case where they had a sign to show there was a curve in the road, but it didn't depict the curve accurately enough, and the municipality was found to be partially liable for the accident. And I mean, I think it's getting, it's getting serious, and I don't know.
There's so many different things that they're looking and nailing us for. It's a lot to keep up with. It's nonstop.
Okay, well, it sounds like it's going to be the next issue when it comes to liability, if it isn't already. And I guess finally is, did we ever get a report on community in Bloom?
No, you haven't got that. Oh, unless you got something.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Bridges, also, we found out at AMO, it's not unusual in rural Ontario to not stop at a stop sign.
Oh, yeah, I heard you say that. I didn't go to that session, but it was wild.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, I've not experienced going into our facilities, RAC facilities, but I did experience it on the weekend, and I'd like to take my hat off to our newest employee. I was involved in the beef barbecue, the Kinsman K40 beef barbecue on the weekend in Hairston. We fed 500. And the young man that was there, our newest employee, was really congenial. He couldn't do enough for us. And I mean, I've heard that a lot. He didn't know me from Adam, so which was good. And I've heard how well our employees get along with some of our service groups and some of our renters, and I experienced it firsthand. So I did make mention to Matt in reference to that, and it was really good. I really kind of enjoyed that evening. I haven't done it for a long time. I haven't been a part of a big group like that, and it was really good.
Sean?
I don't have anything to
Okay.
say.
I just have a couple items. One, along with Councillor Turton, I had the privilege of a Wednesday night being at the Ambassadors Program at the Palmerston Fairgrounds, or we were at the hall, and our lead hand was actually sitting in the audience. I don't think people knew he was there, but he was sitting because he had a young person in the Ambassadors Program, and they said to everybody in the hall, and the hall was full, about how well our staff do, and I think that's a real tribute. And when we can pass that along, I have passed that along to Al and to Greg, and they did a great job. And that's the comments I get mostly, and I know we all get those little ones where that dressing room didn't look as clean as it should be, but I think it goes back to PRAC, and it goes back to the staff, and they do a great job. And on that too, Brian, it was complimented on how well the street looked for our big function in Hairston, and that your staff went out and made sure they had it clean before the event, and that was well done as well. And my other item is just a kind of fun item, and we're going to invite all the councillors on September 7th. If the grand opening of the Clifford Rotary Park will take place. Construction of the ball diamond and soccer pitch began in 2012 with the work on a trail system taking place in 2013. The Rotary Club of Clifford will be operating a food booth beginning at 12:30, and at 1 p.m. the opening ceremonies will take place with a ribbon cutting by myself and the council to open the new ball diamond, soccer pitch, and walking trails. After the ceremony, there will be a mini carnival for the children as well as a chance to walk a portion of the new trail. All proceeds from the day will be used to offset the cost of the new public washrooms at the pavilion that the Rotary Club are putting in, and the town will have spent $63,000 on the reconstruction of the soccer pitch and about $75,000 on the construction of the ball diamond, along with additional work. Was funded in part by a $54,000 grant under the Community Infrastructure Improvement Program through the FedDev. So just welcome everybody, and make sure you come up and have a good time.
Mr. Mayor? Did forget one item. I almost-
Well, I don't know, Ron, I guess we'll let you have one more.
I just want to mention that September 11th, Palmerston Lions are together with the Community Living. Community Living annually had a golf tournament on September 11th, and the Minto Classic used to be in June. So together we decided that we'd put the two projects together and create one golf tournament, and it's going to be on September 11th. Right now, I believe we have over 18 teams already brought into the team, and with the sharing of the two, we expect it's going to be full. It would be really nice to have a lot of council members and staff attend and be part of the golf tournament. It'd be great. I know you have in the past, and we look forward to seeing you in the future. All the money goes right back into the community, and like we say, we're sharing it to a good cause going back to community living.
What's the day of the tournament again?
September 11th.
I'll be
So
there.
I would suggest you get a team in very quickly, if you don't mind to.
Yep,
Okay,
I've got a team in. Good.
good.
All right.
See you
Anything
there.
else?
See you there.
No? Okay. Moved by Deputy Mayor Fisk, second by Councillor Caldwell, that the Committee of the Whole convenes in the Town of Minto Council. All in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Councillor Turton, that the Council of Town of Minto ratifies the motions made in the Committee of the Whole. All in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Caldwell, second by Deputy Mayor Fisk, the bylaw number 2013-69 being the bylaw to temporarily close the road for the Harrison Fair Parade be introduced and read in first, second, and third time, and passed in open council and sealed with seal of the corporation. All in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Turton, second by Councillor Faulkner, that bylaw number 2013-70 being the bylaw to authorize the mayor and CEO clerk to sign an offer to purchase and related documents to sell lands to J.W. Bowman Limited Harrison Industrial Park be introduced and read in first, second, and third time, and passed in open council and sealed with seal of the corporation. All in favor? Carried. Moved by Deputy Mayor Fisk, second by Councillor Elliott, bylaw number 2013-71 being the bylaw to authorize the mayor and CEO clerk to sign an offer to purchase and related documents to purchase lands from Harold and Wilma Fisher, Highway 9, Harris, to be introduced and read in first, second, and third time, and passed in open council and sealed with seal of the corporation. All in favor? Opposed? No, you guys are all with your hands up. No, I'll get. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Moved by Councillor Faulkner, second by Councillor Caldwell, the bylaw number 2013-72 being the bylaw to authorize the mayor and CEO clerk to execute an agreement with Integrated Maintenance and Operations Services, Inc. for the winter maintenance within the connecting links be introduced and read in first, second, and third time, and passed in open council and sealed with seal of the corporation. All in favor? Moved by Deputy Mayor Fisk, second by Councillor Caldwell, the bylaw number 2013-72 being the bylaw to exempt part lot control for lots 1, 13, 16, 17, 18, and 23, registered plan 61M 1854 in the former town of Palmerston, now the town of Minto, be introduced and read first, second, and third time, and passed in open council, and sealed with seal of the corporation. All in favor? Moved by Councillor Turton and second by Councillor Elliott, the bylaw number 2013-73 being the bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the August 27th, 2013 committee and council meeting be introduced and read first, second, third time, and passed on the council and seal with seal of the corporation. All in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Deputy Mayor Fisk, that the Council of Town of Minto adjourns to meet again at the call of the mayor. All in favor? All done? Good meeting.
Just under 3 hours.
Is that